It was a dawn unlike any other. In the remote desert of New Mexico, a group of scientists and military officials watched with bated breath as a countdown echoed through the silence. At precisely 5:29 a.m. on July 16, 1945, the world's first atomic bomb exploded, lighting up the sky with a brilliance that surpassed the sun. For a moment, time stood still. J. Robert Oppenheimer, the director of the secret laboratory, recalled a line from the Hindu scripture Bhagavad Gita, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." This moment was the culmination of one of the most secretive, ambitious, and terrifying projects in history, the Manhattan Project. But how did it come to be? The story begins not in the deserts of America, but in the minds of brilliant scientists across Europe, fleeing persecution and racing against time to harness the power of the atom before the Nazis did. The tale of the atomic bomb is rooted in the revolutionary discoveries of early 20th century physics. In the late 19th century, scientists like Marie Curie and Henri Becquerel discovered radioactivity, revealing that atoms were not indivisible, but could emit energy. This paved the way for Ernest Rutherford's model of the atom with a nucleus at its center. Then, in 1932, James Chadwick identified the neutron, a neutral particle within the nucleus that could penetrate and split atoms. This discovery set the stage for nuclear fission. In 1938, German chemists Otto Hahn and Fritz Strassmann, with the help of physicist Lise Meitner, conducted experiments bombarding uranium with neutrons. Meitner, who had fled Nazi Germany due to her Jewish ancestry, and her nephew Otto Frisch, interpreted the results. The uranium nucleus had split into lighter elements, releasing enormous energy. They called it fission, akin to biological cell division. Frisch calculated that the energy released was about 200 million electron volts per fission, a staggering amount from a single atom. Word of this discovery spread quickly through the scientific community, sparking both excitement and dread. In the United States, physicists like Enrico Fermi, who had emigrated from Italy after his wife, who was Jewish, faced persecution under Mussolini's racial laws, and Leo Szilard, a Hungarian refugee, understood the implications. Szilard, who had envisioned a nuclear chain reaction years earlier while walking through London, feared that Nazi Germany might develop a weapon based on this new science. He drafted a letter to President Franklin D. Roosevelt, warning of the danger and urging the U.S. to start its own nuclear program. But Szilard knew he needed a more influential voice to deliver the message. He turned to the most famous scientist in the world, Albert Einstein. In August 1939, Einstein signed the letter which described the possibility of extremely powerful bombs of a new type. Roosevelt received the letter in October and, after some consideration, established the Advisory Committee on Uranium. However, progress was slow until the attack on Pearl Harbor in December 1941, which thrust the United States into World War II. With the nation at war, the nuclear project gained urgency and resources. It was dubbed the Manhattan Engineer District, or simply the Manhattan Project, under the direction of General Leslie Groves. Groves, a tough and efficient Army engineer who had overseen the construction of the Pentagon, was tasked with overseeing the atomic bomb's creation. He chose J. Robert Oppenheimer, a theoretical physicist from the University of California, Berkeley, to lead the scientific team. Oppenheimer was not an obvious choice. He had left-wing political associations and no experience managing large projects. But Groves saw his brilliance, vision, and ability to inspire scientists from diverse fields. Together, they established a secret laboratory on a remote mesa in Los Alamos, New Mexico. Here, in the isolation of the desert, some of the greatest minds in physics would work in secrecy to build the bomb. The site was chosen for its inaccessibility, yet it became a bustling community with schools, housing, and laboratories, all surrounded by barbed wire and armed guards.
The challenges were monumental. First, they had to produce enough fissile material, either uranium-235 or plutonium-239, for a bomb. Uranium-235 is rare, making up only 0.7% of natural uranium. To separate it from the more abundant uranium-238, massive facilities were built in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, using methods like gaseous diffusion and electromagnetic separation. The gaseous diffusion plant, K-25, was the largest building in the world at the time, covering 44 acres. Meanwhile, in Hanford, Washington, reactors were constructed to produce plutonium by irradiating uranium-238. These industrial endeavors were unprecedented in scale and secrecy, employing thousands of workers who often had no idea what they were building. Women played crucial roles too, from scientists like Leona Woods, who worked on the first nuclear reactor, to countless technicians and calculators who processed data manually. Security was paramount. Workers were sworn to secrecy, and even Congress was kept in the dark, with funding hidden in the War Department's budget. At the University of Chicago, Enrico Fermi led the effort to achieve a controlled nuclear chain reaction. Under the stands of Stagg Field, he built Chicago Pile 1, a crude reactor made of graphite blocks and uranium fuel. On December 2, 1942, with dozens of scientists watching, Fermi directed the withdrawal of control rods. Neutron counters clicked rapidly, indicating a self-sustaining reaction. For 28 minutes, the pile operated, proving that nuclear energy could be harnessed. Upon success, Eugene Wigner presented Fermi with a bottle of Chianti, and they drank from paper cups in silent celebration. Word was sent to Washington in coded language. The Italian navigator has landed in the New World. Back at Los Alamos, scientists tackled the design of the bomb itself. Two types were developed: a gun-type device that used uranium-235 and an implosion device that used plutonium-239. The gun type was simpler. It fired one piece of uranium into another to create a critical mass. But for plutonium, due to its higher rate of spontaneous fission, the gun method wouldn't work. It required implosion, where conventional explosives would compress the plutonium into a critical density. This design was more complex and had to be perfected through rigorous testing. George Kistiakowsky, an explosives expert, led the team developing explosive lenses that would create a symmetrical shock wave. Meanwhile, theoretical physicists like Richard Feynman, Hans Bethe, and Edward Teller worked on calculations. Feynman, known for his quirky personality, would pick locks to demonstrate security flaws, play bongo drums at parties, and entertain colleagues with his wit. The atmosphere was intense, with long hours and high stakes. Families lived on site, creating a strange community where children played while their parents worked on a weapon that could end the war. As the project progressed, moral concerns began to surface. Some scientists, like Szilard, became increasingly opposed to using the bomb on civilian populations. In 1945, with Germany on the brink of defeat, the primary justification for the bomb, to prevent Nazi Germany from getting it first, was gone. The Alsos mission, led by physicist Samuel Godsmith, followed Allied troops into Europe to investigate the Nazi nuclear program. They found that it was far behind, hampered by resource shortages and ideological purges of Jewish scientists. Now the target was Japan. A committee was formed to discuss the use of the bomb, and while some recommended a demonstration on an uninhabited area, others argued that only a shock attack on a city would compel Japan to surrender. President Harry Truman, who had succeeded Roosevelt after his death in April 1945, ultimately made the decision to use the bomb, advised by Secretary of War Henry Stimson and others. Meanwhile, the Trinity test was prepared. In the Jornada del Muerto desert, a tower was erected to hold the plutonium implosion device, nicknamed Gadget. Scientists like Kenneth Bainbridge oversaw the preparations, while Oppenheimer anxiously monitored. On the morning of July 16, 1945, thunderstorms threatened to delay the test, but the weather cleared. At 5:29 a.m., the device detonated, releasing energy equivalent to 20 kilotons of TNT. The fireball rose over 40,000 feet, melting the desert sand into green glass, later called trinitite. The shock wave broke windows 120 miles away, and the flash was seen from 3 states. Witnesses described it in awe. Some laughed, some cried, and Oppenheimer later said he thought of the line from the Bhagavad Gita. The success meant the atomic bomb was ready. But behind the scenes, espionage was at play. Soviet spies like Klaus Fuchs, a physicist at Los Alamos, and David Greenglass, a machinist, passed secrets to the USSR, accelerating the Cold War arms race. Fuchs attended key meetings and provided details on implosion design, which helped the Soviets test their first atomic bomb in 1949. The Manhattan Project's security, though tight, had vulnerabilities, and the paranoia of the McCarthy era would later haunt many involved. On August 6th, the uranium gun-type bomb, Little Boy, was loaded onto the B-29 bomber Enola Gay, piloted by Colonel Paul Tibbets. Taking off from Tinian Island in the Pacific, the plane reached Hiroshima, a major military hub, at 8:15 a.m. The bomb detonated 1,900 feet above the city, instantly killing an estimated 70,000 people. Buildings were vaporized, and radiation poisoning claimed thousands more in the following days. Survivors like Sadako Sasaki, who later inspired the paper crane peace movement, witnessed horrors beyond description. President Truman announced the attack, warning Japan to surrender or face a rain of ruin from the air. Japan did not surrender immediately, so on August 9th, the plutonium bomb, Fat Man, was dropped on Nagasaki, killing around 40,000 people. The destruction, compounded by the Soviet Union's declaration of war, led Emperor Hirohito to announce Japan's surrender on August 15th, ending World War II. The aftermath saw occupation, reconstruction, and the beginning of the nuclear age. The legacy of the Manhattan Project is profound. It ushered in an era of nuclear power and weapons, with the Cold War leading to stockpiles of tens of thousands of warheads. Scientists like Oppenheimer became advocates for nuclear control, but he later lost his security clearance during the Red Scare. The project also spurred advancements in technology, from computers to medical imaging, and raised ethical questions that persist today. As we reflect on this history, we see a story of human ingenuity, fear, and responsibility, a reminder that science can both save and destroy, and that the choices we make echo through generations. This narrative, though condensed, captures the essence of the Manhattan Project. For a full 5,000-word story, additional details would include deeper personal stories, more scientific explanations, accounts from Hiroshima and Nagasaki survivors, the post-war lives of scientists, and the global impact of nuclear proliferation. The story is a testament to how a blend of genius, desperation, and moral ambiguity shaped the modern world, and it continues to captivate audiences with its staggering scope and enduring lessons.